This is Community Reports, focusing on the needs and interests of the Central Valley and Bay Area communities. And now your host for Community Reports, Ken Grant.
This is Travis Air Force Base in Fairfield, California, home to 38 C-5 Galaxies, the largest aircraft in the free world, and 36 C-141 Starlifters assigned to the 60th Military Airlift Wing. As the largest installation in the Military Airlift Command, Travis's mission is airlift and resupply of U.S. forces worldwide. We asked Colonel Bobby Floyd, the base commander, to tell us more about the history behind Travis.
The Travis Air Force Base has a proud history. We were first formed in 1943, built for Fairfield Sassoon Army Airfield during World War II, obviously. For a short period of time, a training base. Then we came under the Transport Command, the Military Air Transport Command. For about a year and a half in the 1949-1950 time frame, Travis had B-29 bomber, or B-29 rather, bombers assigned to the Strategic Air Command, and for that short period of time was under Strategic Air Command. However, the majority of Travis's history has been under the old Military Air Transport Service and now the Military Airlift Command, a proud heritage here in the business of airlift.
Now, what makes the difference between a Military Airlift Command and a Strategic Airlift Command?
A Military Airlift Command, as the name implies, deals with airlift, if you will, strategic and tactical airlift. The Strategic Air Command deals primarily with your bomber force, currently the B-1, B-52, and soon the B-2, and also the tankers, the KC-135s and the KC-10s.
Now, on base here, you have two major squadrons, correct?
Well, we actually have four major squadrons. We have two squadrons of C-141 aircraft, a total of 36 C-141s. We have two squadrons of C-5 aircraft, the Galaxy, and a total of 38 of those aircraft.
When it comes to these four commands here, how do you do your training?
Okay, our training, obviously that's the primary job here day to day, is the training of our air crews. And we train them, we have an air-land mission at Travis, so that means that they have to be able to operate an aircraft worldwide, deliver any goods worldwide. So we obviously have to be able to take off and land in the aircraft, but some people will confuse that and think that the only thing we have to train are our pilots. Our pilots are an important part of our force, but you also have the flight engineers, you have the load masters, and other people that make up an airlift system. The airlift system, you have to load an airplane, have to be able to take the cargo off. So when we talk about training our people here, you have to operate an entire airlift system, and you have to be able to do that worldwide.
And how far would you be deploying these aircraft then in the training missions?
Okay, we deploy literally around the world. Our primary theater we operate in, however, is the Pacific Rim. We'll go from here as far west as Diego Garcia in the ocean. Normally we'll turn around there and come back into the Philippine area, Japan, Korea, Australia, and we even operate some missions down in Antarctica, and I'll talk about that a little bit later.
Colonel, understanding that Travis employs something like 12,000 people, how does that affect the Fairfield area?
Obviously, tremendous impact. We work very closely with the local communities. They're happy to have us here, and we're thrilled to be in Northern California. About, as you said, about 12,000 people call Travis home, work here day to day. We have, of those 12,000 people, about 7,800 are military, about 3,800 are civilian. We also have approximately 5,000 reservists that are here and a part of the 349th Military Airlift Wing, a reserve associate wing. Every day, 10,000 people actually live on Travis Air Force Base. That's about 8,000 people that live in our homes, plus another 2,400 people, the enlisted folks that live in the dormitories.
You mentioned that you have reservists. What is the role of a reservist on Travis?
The role of a reservist is super important here at Travis. We have about 5,000 people in the 349th Military Airlift Wing. It's a reserve associate program, and that in itself is unique to the Military Airlift Command. We take our larger airlift aircrafts, i.e. the C-5s and C-141s. To make them operate efficiently, we need 4 crews to operate that aircraft efficiently. It is not economically feasible to put that many people in the active duty. So what we do is we take 2 crews from the active, then we take 2 crews from the reserve associate program. We literally fly and maintain the same aircraft at Travis. The reserves work with us day to day. They fly our normal missions, they fly the training missions you see out of here, and they literally help maintain the aircraft, help operate the base, and we could not operate without the reservists here at Travis.
And when it comes to operating, we mentioned before how you do your training all around the world, but when it comes to deployment in a wartime zone, how does that operation work here?
Okay. The easiest way to describe that is just what happened recently in Panama. We were told around the 18th to 19th of December that we needed to be ready to deploy some troops from Travis down to Panama. Then what happened was, obviously we had to have a force to haul. Our business is carrying Army, Marine, whatever needs to be deployed. We had to have a unit to deploy. In this case, it was the 7th Infantry Division down at Fort Ord. Working with them closely, and also obviously we're working with the Joint Chiefs of Staff and our parent command and Military Airlift Command, they gave us a timetable to meet. Our tasking on the 20th of December was to deploy on the 20th of December 24 aircraft loaded with personnel supplies to Panama. Of those 24 aircraft, 10 were C-5s, 14 were C-141s. The troops, equipment to be moved came to Travis from Fort Ord. We marshaled them, and then we actually loaded them on the aircraft and moved them out at roughly 30-minute intervals until we deployed the entire 24 loads of equipment.
Now, from the time that you were informed that you had to go to Panama to the time that the 24th plane took off, what sort of time period were we talking at?
We were shooting for about a 24-hour response. We need to get a normal response, and they'll be up here from Fort Ord in approximately 8 hours ready to go. We need 12 hours for our crews to be ready to go. So by the time they're up here, marshaled and ready and loaded on the aircraft, we are ready to take off with them.
You mentioned that the military came to you. Do you ever go to the military?
Sure, that's really the norm. We have a special relationship here with Fort Ord because we obviously near them and we haul them quite a bit. We, in fact, sometimes, depending on what's to be moved, will go to Fort Ord, Monterey, and pick up a load out of there to go if it's a small movement. If it's a real large movement, they will move here normally on the ground, and then we fly them out. If we're moving a unit other than Fort Ord, it's normal for us to fly to the nearest airhead to that particular unit. They will move across the ground to that location, and we'll fly them out. You got to remember that Travis is just one small part of the total airlift system in the United States. We have 3 strategic airlift wings on the West Coast: Norton Air Force Base down in Southern California, here at Travis, and also McCord Air Force Base up in the Tacoma, Seattle area. On the East Coast, you have 3 strategic airlift wings there, one at McGuire Air Force Base in New Jersey, one at Dover Air Force Base in Delaware, they fly the C-5s, and another 141 wing down at Charleston Air Force Base in South Carolina. So the idea is we, as a nation, if we need to deploy forces, the forces will be moved by the unit normally that's closest to that particular wing. So.
Since Travis handles more cargo and passengers than any other military air terminal in the US, we thought it would be interesting to find out just how a mission with this size and responsibility is accomplished. We went plainside with Lieutenant Colonel Wayne Harsher, the operations officer for the 60th Aerial Port Squadron, and asked him about a typical mission.
The first stop on this mission goes up to Elmendorf, Alaska, and then down to Yokota, Japan, Kadena, Okinawa, Clark in the Philippines, then Guam, Hickam, and back home. And most of the cargo here is high priority stuff, that aircraft parts and etc. that goes. We are able to run that mission full of those kinds of things every single day. What's on there is just about everything there is. The one that you see in the lower right-hand corner there is a special handling. It says corrosives on it. That's, of course, that you see as a back pallet. And anytime we ship a lot of that kind of stuff, but it always goes in the rear of the airplane. But just about anything that you need to run the Army, Air Force, Navy, whatever it happens to be, operation out in the Pacific is what you'll find on those pallets. Most of these are parts, as I say, aircraft parts. Some of them are vehicle parts for certain kinds of vehicles that are broke or need fixing right away. And those things. The way you see it packaged there, of course, has the plastic over the top, because here all of our pallets are stored indoors. But when they get out to many of those places out there, they don't have indoor storage, and so they have to sit out, and that's to ensure that they're taken care of. Then the netting that you see around it is just to provide the safety restraint inside the airplane. And those have been certified for the size of pallets up to 10,000 pounds each on the pallet. The equipment that you see here is a 40K, what we call a 40K, a 40,000 pound loader. It can handle up to 40,000 pounds to its maximum capacity there.
Colonel, tell us a little bit more about this cargo dock.
Well, we have here in this area the inbound section where we receive the cargo from coming back from overseas or from other stateside bases. It's going to be processed here before it goes overseas. And that's half of our mission. The other half is the stuff that comes here by truck. And we'll take a walk inside here and we'll see how those two pieces come together, whether they're the cargo that's come in by aircraft that's going back out on an aircraft, or come in by truck and going to go out on the aircraft.
Great.
This holds approximately 400 pallets. Each of the pallets, as I mentioned out there, weighs approximately 2 tons. The value of those pallets, on the average, is about $100,000 each. With some of the ones much higher value of that, of course, we have some computer parts and stuff when you get millions worth on every pallet. As I said, we have 400 pallets in here. What you see in this half especially is stuff that's being built up, ready to go out, and it will move basically within the next 24 hours. And now, the thing that pushes those back and allows those pallets to go in is what we call our ETV, our elevated transfer vehicle here. There are 2 different types of these vehicles. This particular one takes 1 pallet at a time and loads it. The one behind us over on the other side handles 2 at a time. So that they go out, and when they get ready, then they take the pallets, pull them out, and they have to load them backwards because they load in the opposite direction so that they come off. And these guys are masters at doing that, to get them loaded in the right direction so that when they load them on the airplane, they're loaded so that the airplane will stay in the proper weight and balance sequence. You see it all is driven by hydraulic systems in there, so that the man and the operator himself does not have to try to push all those pallets off and on and throughout the system. Well, why don't we go on inside? We'll take a look at how we build these pallets and how they're come to be in the positions that they're in. Okay, what we have here is the flow of our cargo here on the floor. As I mentioned, most of our stuff comes in by truck, is unloaded here. We see it in this area being processed, checked for the paperwork, checked to make sure that it's packaged correctly, and then once it's processed, then it moves over into the normal non-priority cargo over in this area, and the high priority 999 cargo is moved here. Our priority or non-priority cargo there is processed in about 18 hours, moves within 24 hours after that. This is processed in 2 hours and moves usually within about 10 to 12 hours after that on the first available airplane. Now, part of what we track all of that stuff by what is known as a Transportation Control Number, TCN, and we'll see that here on the box. And I'll show you how we, using our computer systems, how we track all the stuff that comes and goes through here. And here's our handheld computer, which allows the folks that are working with the cargo here to work right from here, the computer area. He takes in, will either directly feeds in the number, or if he has the handheld, the wand, the new laser wands we've got, will read the barcode. He put the device, the number in, and then he can transmit directly up to the computer. It will store the information, it will process, it tells it where it is. It will also bill the people that are paying for the movement of that. And within about 2 minutes, anywhere in the world, anybody who's on our system in the Military Airlift Command can punch in that number and will know exactly where that box or that piece of cargo is. What you see there in the doorway being prepared now are cases of what we call MREs, meals ready to eat. The foodstuffs for going over. These are going to Thailand. They're exactly the same as the about 300 tons of that stuff that we sent for hurricane relief earlier. When our troops went to Panama, we sent equivalent amounts. But they're being prepared there for air shipment.
Behind you, you have the C-5 Galaxy, built by the Lockheed Corporation. It's the free world's largest military aircraft. It gross weight's approximately 750,000 pounds. As I mentioned earlier, we have 38 of these aircraft here at Travis. We use them obviously for wartime to deploy troops. However, they have a peacetime mission also. The C-5 was recently used for things like the earthquake relief down in San Francisco. It was used for the oil spill at Valdez in Alaska. In the last part of February, we used the C-5 to deliver goods to American Samoa, both flour and rice. It's a tremendous asset for our nation, and we use it daily for training and also as we have to deploy troops around the world. I discussed earlier its significant use in the Panama invasion back in December. The C-5 is a fairly new airplane. We have both an A model and a B model. We also have 36 C-141s at Travis Air Force Base. The first C-141 was delivered to the Air Force in 1963, so you can see the aircraft are approaching, some of the aircraft are approaching 30 years. It's a tremendous airplane, can carry approximately 1/2 of the payload of a C-5, but again, it's old and needs to be replaced. The picture you saw in my office earlier was that of a C-17, is a replacement for the 141, and we look forward to that airplane having first flight in June of 1990. The aircraft is currently, the C-17 is currently being built in Long Beach, California by the McDonnell Douglas Corporation.
To help us understand the C-5 Galaxy more in depth, we thought we'd come out to the tarmac and speak with Mike McNellis, who's the loadmaster here. Mike, tell us a little bit more about the plane and particularly your role as loadmaster.
Well, tall order. The airplane is the biggest biggest cargo carrier in the world. It's comparable to the 747. Let's take a walk up front, and we'll start there and show you all about it. Right now we're standing underneath the wing, and you look up, the whole airplane floats on that wing when it's in the air, and it's my job to make sure that the aircraft is balanced for flight within a very small portion of that wing. So let's go on up to the cargo compartment, and I'll show you where I put all this cargo. I remember the first time I got on one of these airplanes, to me it was huge. Now I've been flying it for several years, and it seems like it's like normal. It doesn't faze me anymore. But the airplane, I guess for you, first time seeing it, it's got to be just like it was for me. A lot of people compare this airplane to the 747, and both airplanes do have a heavy airlift mission. The 747 is mainly designed as a passenger hauler. This airplane is designed as a cargo hauler. The two really nice things about the design of this airplane, as opposed to the 747, would be the main landing gear and the tail. The gears have a high torque transmission on them, which will allow the airplane, while it's on the ground, to partially retract the gear. In effect, that lowers the airplane frame, the cargo floor, closer to the ground, makes it a lot easier for us to load cargo, either from a truck bed or from a drive-in position. Another nice thing about it is the design of the tail. As opposed to the 747, which has their elevators mounted low on the tail, we have ours high, which clears out all the structural members in the back of the airplane so that we can put doors in the back to load cargo through. Now we're at the back of the airplane, and it looks like a wall. Actually, what we're standing on right now and what we're facing are the aft pressure doors of the airplane. So what we could do is open this door. Matter of fact, let me show you how to do it. Okay, now that we've got these back doors open, I can show you what it is I do as a loadmaster. Just as we loaded that 141 earlier and we had that K-loader vehicle that raised up, we can do the same thing back here. We bring that up here to the level with the ramp, and we just push the things in on these rollers. We just turn these rollers over and just roll that cargo right in, lock it in position. Right now I'm set up where the rollers are turned down, where I can drive anything in here and they won't go bumpy bump. Now, Ken, this ladder here behind us leads to the aft upper deck, or the troop compartment, which where we carry the troops that would sit in the vehicles, that would drive the vehicles into combat if we were in a wartime situation. Let's go on up and I'll show you what it's like. Ken, where we are right now is upstairs in the troop compartment. There's 75 seats back here, and right now I'm facing the front of the airplane. Most airplanes you go to, there's a window up there you can look out. Right now we're separated from that part of the airplane, and you might be wondering why all the seats are facing aft. The military has the idea that if you have to slam your brakes on, abort your takeoff, slam your brakes on, they want you seated in a position where you're already in a crash position. You'd just be sitting here like this, and they slam the brakes on, your whole back, neck, and head are supported by this chair, as opposed to sitting forward. If they slam the brakes, the first thing you're going to do is put your head down and slam right into your knees. So that way we're already set. Now, you might have noticed that there aren't a lot of windows back here. That's mainly because we're not a people hauler, we're a cargo hauler. Any of the troops that we carry back here, we'd be taking into a combat situation. They'd much prefer to wait till they actually got there to find out where they're going. Now, back here, walking toward the back of the airplane, is where we have our galley, where we can fix the troops a hot meal before they actually get into combat. So they've essentially been alerted at whatever base they've been alerted at. They've driven to an airport. We've loaded them on here. We've given them a hot meal. We've let them sleep as much as we can while we're in flight. Might serve them another meal before they land, and then they go downstairs, get into their vehicles, and right off to the front lines. Now there's two ovens here, and really there would be two refrigerators down here. They removed one right now to perform maintenance on it. Now this area here behind us is the access to the empennage area, the tail. And when it just opened it up there, it looks like a great big black hole, and that's virtually what it is. It's more volume back there than you would find on a C-130, and that's designed so that the tail is designed in this way so that we can drive cargo up to the back of the airplane and lower that ramp all the way to the ground and drive the vehicles right in. If we had had if we had the elevators mounted lower, like on the 747, we wouldn't be able to get vehicles underneath the tail in order to drive them in. So that is designed to have that tail sticking way up in the air, and all that space back there we can't use. At this point, the only thing left to show you would be the flight deck itself. So let's go on up there and I'll show you that. These rollers here, you can see them going all the way down the airplane, are reversible. You can either have them up or down. when they're up like this, you'd load the pallets. The pallets would just roll in on these, and they'd lock into this rail system. And the rail system would keep them from those pallets from moving either vertically or forward or aft. And when we don't want to use that, when we want to have rolling stock in here, tanks or trucks or helicopters or whatever, we just turn these over, fold them down into the floor, and you have a nice smooth surface. Now the airplane, to give you some idea how big it is, you'd put like 6 Greyhound buses in here, or 2 M60 battle tanks. An M60 battle tank weighs about 120,000 pounds. So that's a 240,000 pound load, plus the crew for it and all the, it's fueled up, ready to go. Another load that we would have would be helicopters. We could put 7 Black Hawk helicopters in here, or 7 Apache attack helicopters, or 2 H-53 helicopters. Those are the big Jolly Green Giants. There's a whole assortment of loads that we could make. And we've walked all the way from the back of the airplane to the front here, and actually we've walked farther than the Wright brothers' first flight. So that gives you a little bit of idea how long this airplane cargo compartment is. Now the ladder here above us goes up to the flight deck. Why don't we take a look at that? Well, you're on the flight deck right now, and this panel here is where our flight engineer would sit. And first time I ever saw that panel, I figured there's more switches, gauges, and lights and dials on there than you could shake a stick at. And it's true. Now over here you'd have the co-pilot and the pilot. Would you like to sit in one of the seats?
Sure.
And this is where the pilot earns his daily bread. Being familiar with all the things that he needs to know, not only to fly the airplane, but to fly it safely.
We'd like a parking spot, please, for calling ground right now.
Now, I could probably tell you a dozen things about all the instruments, gauges, and switches and dials, but make the length of your film about 3 months long. Ken, when I asked you what it felt like to sit there, I got a look from you that said you decided that you wanted to change careers. So why don't we go talk to a few people I know?
Well, I don't know if I'll take Mike's offer up, because I do enjoy media, especially when it comes to this. But join us again next week for another Community Reports.
The opinions and views expressed on Community Reports may not necessarily be those of the staff or management of Family Stations Incorporated.